Hey guys, hope you're all doing well. Now for today's video, I wanted to talk about something I've never really heard anyone bring up. When it comes down to the actual occurrence of the San Diego incident, the ending of the Lost World Jurassic Park became pretty iconic for a number of different and unique reasons. Now, as many of you undoubtedly know, that ending with Roland Timbo tranking the Buck Rex and the SS Venture being sent out to the mainland was not how the second movie was going to end at the start of filming. I've talked about how it was always something on Spielberg's mind ever since the release of the first movie, but nevertheless, the T-Rex stomping through the city was a decision that omitted the ending that was originally intended for the film. That ending happened to depict the funeral of John Hammond, the kind old man who built Jurassic Park and sent his gatherer team to Site B in order to prevent his villainous nephew from exploiting it. This ending actually adapts some of Michael Crichton's Lost World novel for the big screen, and it also would have given us a very different closing to this big adventure. You have to remember that because Ludlow was killed back on Isla Sorna, and because his harvester team was unable to bring any of the dinosaurs to San Diego, the animal's existence is still unknown to the general public. All of Nick Van Owen's video footage of the stegosaurs and other herbivores went over the cliff with Eddie Carr's RV. Malcolm would have returned a man who was unable to clear his name, and the world would still look at him as if he's some sort of foolish scientist who's trying to con people into believing he saw real dinosaurs. John Hammond, the father of Jurassic Park, would unfortunately pass away during the events of The Lost World. His illness that we got to see at the beginning of the film happened to get the best of him, and everything he left behind would be passed down to hands very different from his own. Snow would fall on a midwinter day in a gray cemetery, a group of 50 mourners huddled around a gravesite next to a coffin. It's covered with cascades of flowers from people who've stopped to pay their respects. On a table, we see a framed photograph of the man himself. This was his funeral. A minister reads from the Bible while mourners wipe away sad tears. Ian Malcolm stands a respectful distance from the group, with Kelly right beside him. Malcolm's face is blank, tired, his sunburn out of place with the white winter setting around him. At the gravesite, a young woman turns and looks back over her shoulder. She's about 16 years old, lovely, with long blonde hair and an honest, open face. She notices Malcolm and immediately recognizes him. She nudges the young man next to her, about 13 years old. He turns and breaks into a smile, just as welcoming. As the ceremony breaks up, they walk over to him. "Hello, Lex." "Hello, Tim," Malcolm says. Lex stands on her tiptoes and gives Ian a kiss on the cheek. Tim extends his hand and waits for Malcolm to shake it. "This is Kelly, my daughter," he says after their greeting is passed. Everyone nods their hellos before Lex begins to speak. "I'm glad you came, Dr. Malcolm," she says. Malcolm replies that he's sorry about their grandfather. "We were going to call you in a few days," she continues. "Tim and I have been thinking, and we've decided we want people to know about the island. About what we all saw." Tim speaks up around now. "We think it's something Grandpa would want us to do," he adds in. Malcolm gives them both a small pause, before giving a simple response. "Why?" he asks. "Because it's all true," Lex says. Malcolm looks at her for a long moment, before speaking his mind. "I know, Lex. But even if we're the only ones who ever know, it'll still be true. You see, I've decided that if the world ever found out about what your grandfather created, it wouldn't be around for very long." Lex stops him after he's made this statement. "But it was real. You can't let people go on saying that it's not." "That's the funny thing about reality," Malcolm responds. He looks down at Kelly. "Even when people stop believing in it, it doesn't go away." Kelly smiles and takes his hand, her fingers interlocking with his. Back over Sorna, we float over the abandoned worker village, moving lightly as if in a dream. And Malcolm continues. "Do you feel the cold wind blowing on your face? That's real. Do you see the four of us standing here, together, alive? That's real too. And maybe that's all that really matters." Now, that would have been one radically different ending. Without Dr. John Hammond appearing on television to calm the public's questions about Site B, and his assurance that the animals would be preserved and isolated from the mainland, this would basically have made all of the animals still undiscovered by the rest of the world. There was no big reveal with the Tyrannosaurus Rex storming through California and dead bodies in its wake, so no one would have ever really known about what happened in either of the original 2 movies. Had they gone this route, it's safe to say that the future of this franchise would have been radically different to what we have today. But we'd also never get the awesome ending that I personally think Lost World is bookended with. Now, this ending is something that I don't really ever hear that many people talking about, so I'm unsure as to how many people even know that this was what that movie was going to end on. I'm curious to know if any of you watching this were aware about this version of the script, and if you knew how John Hammond's funeral was going to go down. I'd also like to hear what you think of it, and which ending you personally prefer. To me, the one we actually have is pretty great the way it is, but I'm not going to lie and say that this wouldn't have been an excellent way to say goodbye to Richard Attenborough's character. Whatever your thoughts on the subject may be, I'd love to hear about it in the comments down below. Now before I go, I want to thank all of my game wardens, as well as all of my InGen executives. I'd also like to thank all of my park workers and InGen hunters as well. It really means the world to me to hear that you guys appreciate what I do so much, and I seriously am extremely thankful for everything that you guys do to show support. It honestly means the world. Now I'd like to thank you all for watching this video, and hope that you all enjoy today's content. If you feel like I deserve it, I'd appreciate the like, and hope that you'll consider subscribing if you're interested in hearing from me again. I'll see you on the next video, guys, and as always, take it easy.